My name is Sandra Mishkin, I'm the director of the Hungarian Culture Institute, and we have a special guest this evening, or this afternoon, Gabor Mate. I suppose that everyone who is here knows that this exhibition is here. It's actually, the bigger part is in the gallery Sintezis, and I'm inviting everyone to go there and to see the exhibition and to have the booklet as well, because there are pictures in the booklet that aren't exposed in any of the places. So have the booklet, go to the gallery Sintezis and look at the pictures here as well. And I will give now the floor to Gabor and his artist talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Welcome everybody here. I see familiar faces I've seen yesterday, and I promised I will talk different things like yesterday. I'm just now talking not about the exhibition itself, but about my artistic career. Okay? I suggest you to come a little bit maybe closer. Just feel free to come closer, because maybe you cannot see the whole picture. Check it. It's better. I can see everybody, so you can stay. Okay, so Gábor Máté or Máté Gábor, it's always confusing. In Hungary we use it in a different way. First is the family name, and the second is the first name. So anyway, welcome everybody here. So I should start with my diploma work. So that's very important for me. I graduated in the Hungarian Academy of Crafts and Design in 1991, and I would like to start my presentation with these 5 pictures which were my diploma works, because I think as a teacher and an ex-student, diploma work has a great impact and influence on the later career of a photographer. So in this diploma work I made staged photographs about fur coat, and I made photographs about models in different scenes, in situations, and I was dealing about the habit of wearing a fur coat, this absurdity and ambivalence of this phenomenon, that, you know, it's the same time it needs blood to produce a fur coat, but it becomes attractive and sexy and symbol of power to the women and wealth. Okay, and after this, the influence of this work was that I received lots of commissions from different places. So I had the opportunity to work in different genres of photography. So firstly, I want to present you some of the magazines, Hungarian magazines, the covers of the magazines. I had the chance to make portraits about famous or celebrities from Hungary, and this was the first high-quality standard magazine in Hungary. And I had an option to take photographs about this famous Hungarian celebrity, for example, Imre Antal, and it was very interesting for a young photographer like me at the age of 22, just to make an interview with them, giving them questions, and after this I make my own picture, my own opinion about a person. And this in this job, my motivation was this challenge, because, you know, to get acquainted with a famous celebrity is always threatening for a young person, and it was a great challenge just to get close to him and open their personality. And also I was curious about their personality in the same time. So I worked for other magazines, artistic magazines, and I had a chance to make portraits about famous writers. Here you can see László Krasznahorkai, a quite well-known Hungarian writer and a very good writer, and György Faludi, who is a very great Hungarian poet. But also I could make photographs about influential politicians from the Hungarian political scene, like the name is József Tordján, okay? So he was that time very famous and influential, and I was criticizing his political aim with my illumination. So it was very exciting to take photographs, that kind of guys. The other genre of photography, what I was involved a lot and I loved a lot, is just taking photographs for a cooking magazine. It's Konyha Művészet, but means art of the cooking or art of the kitchen. And I was practicing to make this photograph for this magazine more than 1 decade. And it has another kind of visual standard and requirements at this age. And that was quite unique magazine in that field. Gastronomy was just to be a high level in Hungary, and we could taste very new foods and meals, and it was very tempting for me. That's why I loved it a lot. And yes, everybody likes eating, I think, or the good food. So it was very surprising for me. And I could collaborate in this work other famous writers in Hungary, like Péter Eszterházy, who wrote the articles about the food and the restaurants, and meanwhile I was taking the photographs about the meals. And another famous gastronomic specialist and chefs, I could work together. And here my motivation was the respectation, as I mentioned, the adoration toward gastronomy, and I wanted to learn how to make a good food photograph, to get more and more knowledge about this genre of photography. And it was a good experimental solution for me. I used not different materials as a background, like wood or like concrete in this case, or sometimes I make kind of double exposure photographs. In this field I make a kind of collision between different scales. So this photograph, for example, was made up from 2 exposures on 5 4-inch slide, and one photograph was made in the restaurant and the other at home just weeks later. And I created the background inspired by the food itself. Okay, and that's what you can see on this photograph as well. The other part of my commissions were advertising photos. This characteristic of this kind of task is very complicated and complex. You have to fulfill many requirements. There is a client, models, art directors, creative directors, client service manager, etc. And you have to balance all the requirements and create a photograph. So it was a very difficult job for me, a very great challenge, and to synchronize these different requirements. And I made lots of billboards and city lights, and my motivation was that I think advertisements has a great impact on the general visual culture, not only the museums and the galleries, but these are the photographs what the public meets most in the everyday life. And I think the photographer has a responsibility to make as good photograph as possible within these boundaries, what is possible to make in a kind of assignment, like an advertising job. So I think this is the part our visual culture as well. And yes, I wanted to learn everything about this genre of stage photography when you have to balance these lots of points. And of course it was a challenging job for me too. And here I integrate the experience, what I received, the editorial works, the portrait works for magazines, and I could integrate the experiences to the advertising jobs. I made many successful campaigns. non-profit campaigns as well, and I'm talking a little bit fast, isn't it?
No.
You know, as a result, I gained experiences in team working. So, and it is very important in photography. And of course, it's very important to mention that I could gain financial base and security, because, as you know, advertising job is a very well-paid job for a photographer, and without this, a photographer hardly can buy a flat and so on, and their home and equipment and etc. So I highly appreciate this kind of job even nowadays. So these are the names of the people and artists I work together on a project or a book. Beside of this assignment, I created lots of co-working books with famous, probably you don't know too many of them, but for me all means something, and in Hungary they are very important names. And my intention in this job was to understand their thinking and different kind of artistic view of the world. I'm highlighting now just 4 books, yes, where the source of my inspiration was the other artists' works and characteristic. First, I project here a book what I made together with a famous architect of Hungary about brick. We created together this book. He suggested some architectures made of brick, and I selected my own taste buildings and what was presenting the brick architecture in the past few years in Hungary. And I was interested that how photography modifies the characteristics of a building. I could select some transformator buildings and so on. The other book what is important for me is Peter Vladimir Peter's book. It's a completely different, not just because so he's a jeweler in Hungary, and I was adored about his jewels, to tell the truth. That's why I made the job, and I wanted to make as beautiful photographs about his small shiny objects as possible. And I've chosen here a much, so I didn't put any background, just I wanted to highlight the 2-dimensional objects to be touchable, almost touchable, just to appear real on the photograph. I think it's a very great challenge for a photographer. I was working on this book like 2 years to make all these small jewels as beautiful as possible. And later on, I had a commission from his wife, Marianne Ban, who was a clay ceramic artist, and the title of the book is Sound of Clay. And this was another kind of artistic approach from me. So it's not just the naked objects I made photographs about, but about the surrealistic world of her. Yes. And I wanted to discover what is behind of this very strange object. So I placed her works into different situations, kind of narrative situation. What is revealing her past and history. Yes, and her emotions in her life. The other book I want to present you is Imre Makovet's book. You know, it's churches. He's another architect, completely different genre, like Gábor Turányi with the bricks, who is a very modern architect, but Makovec Imre is a quite organic architect. Just here in the Hungarian Institute, I had an exhibition from these photographs because he's so famous, Makovec. And this exhibition was just because of him, because he's so famous. But it was a very interesting task for me because I wanted to express that these buildings are kind of sacred buildings, churches. Like this is a funeral building when I don't know how to say in English, where you put the corpse before burying. What is it in English? This is
crematory.
Huh?
Crematory.
Crematory, maybe, yes. But this
sounds
is
English.
Yes. So and I wanted to express that this is the gate to the death and so on. And my deal was with him. It was a very strange deal that I said to him that okay, I make the photographs about all your churches if I can make all photographs about this, but I don't want to make daylight photograph just in the night time. And I made one example to him, and he told me that you are completely crazy, and he accepted, and he gave me this assignment. And I had to travel around Hungary and Transylvania and so on, so it was a 2 months photographic tour. But I made photographs about all his building without blue sky, or just hardly blue sky at the sunset. And I was working with my assistant, and I made a multiply exposure photographs. And my potential was to express that these not to show the details, not to show that how this church looks like indeed, how the connection looks like, just to capture the soul of this building. And he appreciated my work a lot, and it was very good feeling for me. Even this photograph, we made it in the middle of the night, just at midnight, and we were scared when it's in the middle of a forest, just the city is down there, and we were scared when some movement was approaching to us, and we were run. I remember it was a very nice shooting anyway. So, and all photographs, yes, I forgot to mention, all photographs I and my assistant illuminated ourselves. Another very important project for me, what I made it in New York, it's a completely different kind of project. The title was Opener 10-8. That means that I made all the photographs, as you can see, on a 10-8-inch camera and on Polaroid and in the street. And I should have to make photographs about models here, because it was this exhibition was established during the Fashion Week in New York, and these are the dresses of the black dresses are designed by Hungarian designers, and my concept was to combine them with the everyday people from the streets of New York. So I put the models on a stage, as you can see, and I called in the picture some people from the audience, or just from the public who we could catch with my assistant, and I made a group picture together with them. And all was made on Polaroid and exhibited after the shot in the window of School of the International Center of Photography. So, and my key notions were similarity, innocence, friendship, desire. And it was another big teamwork. There you can see that how many people were working on this one single project. And now the project itself, after the commissions. Yes. Do you have any question regarding to these commissions?
I do. Do you still accept any kind of such commissions, or you get to choose and you prefer your projects going on? Or
I accept commissions, not any kind of commissions, but sometimes I do commissions. But now it's a complex question why it's changed, the commissions. But anyway, it's now belongs to the younger generation, and yes, so it's I still do. Yes.
I also have a question. regarding like when you graduated, you started working like right after the end of Soviet Union. So was it quite hard to like start doing something like projects in relatively small country? Because Bulgaria is also quite small, and it's still hard to like work something you like to do.
It was very easy after the communist days to start working. It was this was a time when so many things changed and we had so many opportunities, because in the communist times there was not a high standard applied art photography in Hungary. So because everything was balanced from the government, you know, and only the friends could get job and not the talented ones. And then the market just opened, and I was very lucky because I graduated in 91, and there was a big vacuum toward the photographers. So and those who could make the standard for the international companies like Coca-Cola or whatever, then they could get a job. For example, my first assignment was that there was a Coca-Cola campaign, and two other photographers made a still life, but they were not satisfied. I've seen the photography, yes, I could understand them. And then they, as you know, a young photographer, they gave me the assignment, and I was working like for 1 week for this one single photograph, and it was so successful that after I didn't have to do anything, just came the other client and the other, and in the same time I could work for the Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola. So all the photographs what you could see in Hungary was made by me, and it was very strange. Now you have to sign a paper that if you work for Pepsi-Cola, you cannot work for Coca-Cola at all. At that time, because of this vacuum, you could do it, and the telecommunication companies, you know. So it was a very, very good time. So I think it will never come back. But anyway, I was lucky to do this. So it was not because of my extraordinary talent or whatever. It's just the time. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So the project. No more questions to the assignment. Okay. Then the project. This is the other field of my creative works. I consider the other part of works creativity as well, and photographic jobs. One of my first bigger project I made when I was studying, and it was very successful. I made it in the city park, in the Luna Park, and the theme park in Budapest. These were my first project. It was very interesting for me to discover Budapest's secret places full of criminals and the strange families. It's interesting that one of my first photographs, I made a photograph about a family. I didn't know that later on, like 20 years later, I wanted to capture in one photograph between the members of the family. So yes, and then this culture was very interesting for me, for a young 21-year-old person. Okay, and I went to the circus as well, and I made backstage photographs. It was about the Russian circus. I was curious about what they're doing behind the scenes. It's just very natural. It's very important for a photographer to be curious, because that needs to develop something. And from the beginning, I went in the backstage, and I made many hundreds of photographs about them. And also in the opera house, that was my other focusing point, but I didn't make any photograph about the stage itself. I was making photographs in the breaks, between the you know, the chapters, not chapters, parts, acts, yes, and about the audience, and that it was strange for me that who can afford to buy a ticket to the opera, and why they dress so beautiful just for one day, and how they come together, mother and daughter, and so it was a very strange word for me, and I made also hundreds of photographs, black and white, about these people. Always asked them to pose in front of my camera. So from the beginning, I had the artistic approach to ask people just to pose for me, just to look into my camera and take the photograph. And later in 2008, as I mentioned many times before, I started to deal with the human attachment, and I was curious about a different field of human attachment. So with a friend of mine, Nick Thorpe, we went to Kosovo. It was a new country at that time, just 2 months old, and my friend wanted to prove that there is indeed peace between Serbians and who are they, not Serbians, but Albanians. Yes, thank you. Okay, and we went to visited families again. For example, a Serbian family, and who are living in a very Albanian village, in the middle of an Albanian village, and with friendship with Albanians. My friend was accused many times that he's a liar, but I was there, I was a victim, and it was true that they lived good with their neighbors. Okay, and this was interesting because before then you could hear about this, there were many killings and ethnical killings in Kosovo, and everybody thought that this country will last just for months, and it's very fragile and so on. And yes, so it was quite interesting that how people can attach so much to their ethnicity, even that they are in a danger, even their life danger. And of course we went to visit in Mitrovica to an Albanian family in this street who are just surrounded with children, Serbian children, and they live together in peace. And it was very interesting for me that we asked that why didn't they leave their house, even in the ethnical killings, and they said that because they attached so much to the house, because it was built up by their father. So it was very strange. It's very much against the common thinking. So, and the second chapter was the attachment to a religion. So I went with another friend of mine, a writer, Miklos Serdjan, to Cuba, and we took photographs about the Santeria. Maybe you haven't heard about this religion. This is very unique in Cuba because it's a nice combination of Catholic and an African religion, the Yoruba. This integration of the two languages form the Santeria, which these people who are the Babalawo, the priest of this religion, just going in the weekend in the Catholic Church, but in the weekdays they are practicing their own tribal rites. Yes, as you can see, this is in the temple of the Babalawo priest, and here you can see the cross with the Christ, and behind the baby of the Babalawo, and yeah, I don't want to present too many photographs about this, yes. But you can watch everything on my website. So, and then this next step was after Cuba, I was interested. A very good friend of mine is a Greek Catholic priest, and you know, Greek Catholics, like here the Orthodox priest, can have a family, and I visited them many times, and we lived together. We slept in their house many times, and I was surprised at how the religion integrates to their everyday life. And I wanted to capture this one about family photographs here, and about their everyday practice in a symbolic way, that how can it be a natural thing, not like a ceremonial thing, just the religion. like photographs about their children as they are working in their dress, what they are wearing in the church. And this is, you know, in the garden of the church, the hens, and the daughter of her is just picking up the eggs. And that's how it looks behind the scenes, the altar, yes, with a normal baggage on the top of the cupboard. Yes. So that's what was tempting me, this how does combining the sacred and profane. And then we come to the final projects of mine. As you could see, this was my doctoral work as I started. This is the Philemon's Dream. That was the title, as I mentioned yesterday. So I can see some people who have listened to this text yesterday. But I have to mention that this is coming, the Philemon's Dream, from the Greek mythology. Because this story was quite inspiring for me, and as I mentioned, because these were the guys, Philemon and Baucis, who could accept a homeless person, a frightening person, and gave them hospitality in their home. And it's very strange who can do this in a city even nowadays, and the secret of this kind of human behavior, that's what the Greek mythology says, it's a kind of good marriage, and that's what they claim, that good marriage means, that you can be acceptable about the strange things, what are not comfortable to you, and and I wanted to know that what is the secret of the of a good marriage, and why is it good at all, and what do we have to do to make our marriage, as I'm a married person, to make as good as possible. So and these methods are very briefly described in the Greek mythology. They say that they were rulers and servants to each other. And with these two words, it says almost everything, because in the modern psychology you can read it that the secret, for example, there are many essences how to make a marriage good, that you can modify the center of the interest dynamically, and that means the same what the Greeks said like 4,000 years ago, but it needed to us to discover it like some thousand years. But it's more or less the same, like how to modify the center of the interest, because that's very important, because that's what happens in many marriages, that the interest is just focusing one of the member, but if it's changing dynamically, then it can be kept alive. That's what modern psychology says, and the Greek also. So, and on the other hand, as I mentioned yesterday as well, but I have to tell it again, this is the only social place for a modern person when we can live in an intimate relationship with another human being. And we are social creatures indeed, so we need this kind of connection. It's more than friends, it's more than connection with at your workplace or whatever. It's a kind of place what we should appreciate more. Okay, so that's what I believe in, and that's why I was dealing with this project so long. And of course, this photograph is not exhibited, but it's in my project as well. I gave questions to the couples who I considered perfect couples, and I asked them that, what do you do to the other, even if you don't like to do it, but the other loves it? And some people revealed it for me, that, for example, this girl was sometimes washing the feet of his husband. Okay, and that's very simple act, but that's what she didn't really like. but the husband loved a lot. So it was very simple to take a photograph about this. I had to stage this one situation, and as I mentioned before, I never create something what is just a simple creation. It's always based on a real story, so it's a real story. They make it generally in this sofa, but I put a special illumination to this scene just to appear like a sacral act or something more than a daily routine. Okay? So that's it. And sometimes, as this photograph you can see in the exhibition, I was just representing the characteristic of their relationship and difficulties in a simple portrait, in a symbolic way. Okay, so this photograph doesn't have a story that this guy used to lay in front of the bed of her. So it, I think, never happened just because of the photograph. But they love this situation that I staged them this way, okay? And they had no problem to do like this. And they agreed with this. Okay, and in the same time, I'm making landscapes or still lifes about their environment and illustrate the condition and complexity with this kind of, I think I don't have to explain why is it symbolic and metaphoric. When I made this photograph, I just noticed in the garden, I just went out to have a fresh air between two shots, because as you can imagine, to take such a photograph, it takes hours or half a day, and after 2 hours like illumination, then I went out and wow, I noticed this pool in the fog, and I immediately removed the camera from the room, and I came here, I just made the photograph. Yes, as yesterday I mentioned that, okay, I balanced a little bit this kind of floating objects on the pool because it was in the corner, but later on I realized that this pool is surrounded by fences, and in the front of the wood there is a cutted tree, and that's, for me, it's very interesting that on the other tree you can see a kind of electric regulator equipment. So this all binds to the topic of the marriage. Yes. And another photograph is what you can see in Sintezis gallery. Yes, and this photograph about the same family. I was talking about that, how much matters for me the size of the images, that some images can become three-dimensional. Now you are lucky to see the original photograph in the Sintezis gallery, and now you can see that on this small size you cannot see this three-dimensional feeling, but in a big scale you can see it definitely. I think so. Okay, and yes, so this is the way, and as I have to mention again that I'm making the whole analog procedure myself, processing the film myself, and enlarging from the negatives to photographic paper in a dark room. I love this method. And this is not because of the result. Okay, maybe on the result some people can see the difference. Not me, because my eyes are not that sharp. But anyway, I love to immerse in this creation. So this method, this means a lot for me. I think for an artist. Oh, the second chapter, what I started in 2016, is about divorce, and as I told yesterday, my inspiration was based that many of my friends divorced, and almost all my friends divorced, and more people are thinking about this. So many of my friends are thinking about this, and I was surprised that when a good friend of mine just suddenly claimed her wife that she divorced, and that was a very tragical point in their life, and that's why I started to take photographs this, because I felt sorry about them and I felt very empathic with their pain, and I wanted to understand that how is it possible to survive such a bad situation, what they could survive. So yes, and according to the psychologist David Bowlby statement, this is the strongest trauma in our lifetime, stronger than grief when we are losing somebody, and this is very important. So we think that generally the strongest thing, but psychologically the fact, and that has many reasons because of the traditional behaviors, and we have to pretend that we are perfect, and we can keep our promises and whatever, and so there are many issues what is making this kind of relationship hard and the decision very difficult. Okay, and my photographs, you can see here the quotes. Okay, somebody asked me yesterday that why not the quotes appeared about the people who divorced, but because this exhibition now is mainly about the young generation, the children, that's why I wanted to highlight this. But in this exhibition, what title was Divorce, the resolution reached with difficulty, it was very important to link to the photographs the quotes, what was picked up from the interviews what I made with my models. Okay, and yes, I go back to this photograph because it could be interesting for you that in the Sинтезис you can see the photograph about the guy who is eating at the table. Okay, you know, asparagus and fish, salmon, and the daughter with another plate, an empty plate. And it was strange, this photograph, how I created, because I just look out the window, and that was in front of me from the window. That's what he can see from this window, and it was strange, this small artificial lake with this kind of you know, hammer in the ground, and with these tiles and with these woods around, and this was very much reminded me with this plastic thing which discovered the very shallow water, that like this is like divorce for me, and it's strange that just it was in front of his window, dining room window. And of course this photograph is illuminated as well. It's not the natural light, I illuminate. And this photograph, what is here, yes, in Liszt Institute, it's also the bedroom of this guy, and that's how it looks like. I just didn't move anything, just take a photograph, and I just put a spotlight on his jacket, and it's a good chance to see the details of the photographs. I suggest everybody just to read what is written on the bed itself. It's a very meaningful thing beyond the quotes. Okay, and yes, that's what you can see in. And then I mentioned you that this friend of mine is divorced. What made me to start this project, and this is his quote. You can read it here. Yeah. And this is the portrait, the other portrait about his wife, and her quote. So I try to interpret the diversity of divorce. Okay, this is not just a bad thing. It can feel relieved somebody, but before that period she was suffering a lot. Yes. So I wanted to represent the positive feelings as well, not just the struggling. Okay. yes, and I ended up with this photograph because as you can see here, the quotes, now it's obvious that that's why he was very important for me, because he is another guy who divorced 3 times, and he didn't understand why does it happen again and again, and that's what he claims, that he into psychodrama, and that's a divorce. So it's a kind of problematic thing, but it's possible to solve. And this is just the opposite photograph, like the first photograph with the beautiful pears on the tree, and here the apples on the ground. Okay, and that was exactly the same. It was in his garden at all. And this is the 3rd chapter. The title is The Apples of Their Eyes, and this is about the children, when I interpretate the children of those who I have taken photographs about in my 2 previous projects. Okay, the same children you can see. And that's where I made the same photographic approach I applied in this series, like making still lifes and portraits about the children. And I've chosen such a place is what is expressing my model's characteristic. I used a little bit different illumination, as you can see. I used here RGB lamps. What you know, RGB is giving the full white light, and I made some experimental illumination with this, about this basement, for example, where you can see the different colors only in the shadows. I think it gives a very nice view and very vivid view about the soul of the young generations, who I love a lot. And why did I make it? You can give me this question, because I think the secret or the key of the future is lying within the hands of the parents. It's in the hands of the parents, as I can say, because as they behave, I think this will have a very great impact on the future, because the children are just copying the way how the parents are behaving, and they have a very strong influence on their personality, as we know. And that's why it's a big responsibility how we behave, even if we keep a marriage, even if we divorce. It's better than the other, but very wrong way. So that's why, because I like my own children, that's why I made these photographs. And then I love my students. I'm a teacher, maybe you know, and that's one is my motivation, because I like teaching the new generation. I think it's very important how we are talking with them and helping them and giving them a secure base to grow up safely and be exceptional and open to the new things like Philemon and Baukis. Okay, so, and as you can see here, I use this RGB color in the case of this portrait, what is visible now in Sinteti's gallery as well. And this girl, what is not seen in this exhibition now, but I made the portrait of her, the daughter of the guy who is lying on this bed in front, half naked, almost naked, just in an underwear. And this is the daughter of her, and that's a little bit connecting even the pose and the hand with the father and the dreamer position. Okay, and this is her still life photograph that was very simple to make, a vivid, colorful personality, and this angel, what she said that I should take photograph about, because she got it from her father. And I made, of course, the photograph with this disco globe, or I don't know how to call it in English, this mirror globe. together what was in her room. Okay, and yes, we run out of time, I can see, but I will be quick. So this is another portrait what is now not exhibited, but belongs to two photographs what you can see in Sintezis gallery. Maybe you can recognize the scene because some years before, like 4 or 5 years before, I made a photograph about him together with the father, and I wanted to put him in the same place in front of this place. I made this photograph after he moved away from home. At that time when I made the photograph about the father and him, he lived together. He said this very important time from his life when he had to help his father as a child not to suffer so much because of divorce. Okay, so it's very important for me, this image as well. All images are important for me anyway, but this one is the last one what I project, and you can see in Sintezis gallery, and you can see in the booklet that this photograph, but maybe it's a better quality. And I was talking about that this horse story is also a kind of thing what has a story. She got it from her sister, and that's why I wanted to take a photograph about this. Yeah. Oh, now I have one more photograph. Okay, and the last project is the inner sky. So that's what you can see now in Sofia, first time. And then I'm very happy about this and impressed that I can present these three projects together, what I'm working on like 8 years. I can first present together in here in this city, what I relate in many fields to, and you know, Nadia was the curator of this project, and she made this pairing and all the settings in the exhibition hall. I suggest you to watch this exhibition there, because the photographs itself, I think, has more meaning than just a projector screen, and also the colors are there where you can see precisely. These are these digital images. We had a conversation with Nadia about these two photographs. She had a problem with the color distortion between one is too greenish, the other is too put together well. But finally, when she has seen the two photographs together, you can see that the fading from the green to the blue arrives to the same green what has the photograph about their parents. So I can tell the truth, but don't tell it to anybody else. It was just an accident, but it was a good accident. Photography is full of accidental things, just believe me. Many times when you create something, you don't think about it, just you are following your instincts, okay? And then later on you realize that, come on, it works, or not. Sometimes it happens that you create something very precisely, and you have a very good plan, and you think that this will work. And when you create the photograph, it's just boring. So I could say that I know the secret, but sometimes not working. I know the secret like 90%, but not 100%. Okay, and these are the three last photographs what you can see also in Sintezis gallery, and thank you for your attention. And now I give you the time and the word to give me questions if you have any questions regarding these projects of mine. Thank you. Okay, Nicola.
I wanted to ask you about it looks like most of the models are your friends, and also it looks like they all have nice yards.
Yeah.
Is this all happening in Budapest? Or?
Yes, they're all very rich persons.
No, I'm more interested if they're all your friends or if you also approach some strangers, and how did you select the people?
Friends, not very strange persons, just not good friends. I start with good friends because that's easier to get close to them. But some of them were like my wife friends, okay? Or I knew a story from an old friend of mine what was very remarkable, and I called them and they let me or resist me to take photographs. To tell the truth about the divorce and marriage, everybody accepted my request. Okay, so but before I answer this question, that are they very rich or not, this one, for example, in the countryside. So in Hungary, many times happens that they move out to the suburb, okay, and they can have a family house. And it's not within. If it were in the center of Budapest, then come on, but this is more like countryside. But one photograph I made it in a countryside in Szeged, one in Győr, okay, in another countryside. I made photographs also about my brother. So I made very close family members. So I made photographs in the Philemon's about my father and mother. It was very inspiring, their behavior on my work. Yes, so I worked about this one as well. I took photographs about this one in black and white. This was the only black and white photograph I made. And the other thing is that yes, and rejection. So it's a very hard questions to let me in their intimate sphere, but they know me, and they know that I won't use them as a tool, and it's a co-working, a team working, or I always listen to their feedbacks and so on. That's why they let me in. I had actually one rejection from the youngsters, from the children. Still, I don't have an access to one of the child from a divorced family, because this is the most risky thing when take photographs about children whose parents were divorced, and why is it, that comparing. One girl had a problem about this, but I could convince her, and she's very satisfied with the photograph after all, because she said that, come on, that is it good that I'm together with the context of divorce, and what is this about? And okay, I take the time. I was talking a lot about this, and I made a photograph about her 2 times. First time I made a wrong photograph, and the second time she was happy to come with me because she was not suspecting that I will put in the Facebook just immediately without her permission and so on. So, and some of the youngsters are waiting for my permission to put their photographs in the Facebook, and I didn't let them to use it by now. So next week I will write all of them, come on, you can use it. So, because that was one of the part of the deal, that they can use it on the Facebook. Yeah. But actually, what is a... It's not that expensive environment. Yes, this girl with me. I'm just watching that, which is, no, it's good. So, other question?
What kind of film and paper do you use?
Okay, first I answer this and then you. Okay. I cannot tell you because it's the advert. No, I can tell you. I use Ektar film. That's my favorite, but probably Fuji is as good as Ektar. I just love this saturation of Ektar and these very vivid colors. I tested many others, but I stuck on the Ektar, and I love it. So all photographs are made, almost all. One is not on Ektar, and it's visible after it because the saturation is different. In this exhibition, everything is on Ektar. except the 10-8-inch photograph. There is one 10-8-inch, and this is on Fuji, but you won't notice it. It's very nice. And the photographic paper, it's I use both Fuji and Kodak. I prefer Kodak. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I used too many Kodaks when I was making applied photography. But now it's very difficult to get Kodak paper, a 1 meter roll of Kodak paper, and this exhibition is, half of the exhibition is printed on Kodak, half on Fuji, and I was afraid that the color will be different, but no, it's perfect. You cannot recognize which is Kodak and which is Fuji. So both is very good. So, yes? And
how have you decided to work as a photographer, and are there moments when you are not sure that you want to work as one?
So was there a moment when I regretted?
Yeah.
You mean? Okay. I think I never regretted. So maybe there were some moments, that hard moments, but I decided very early, like 10-year-old. But I didn't decide at that time that I would become a photographer. I made many other things. I started to take photographs at 10. I was interested in the technique. It was a miracle in the dark room, and you know that it's, oh come on, you can make your own image, and it's very. So it was in the beginning. I loved to make photographs about sunset. Nowadays I found a diary from me. I wrote diaries when I was young, and I sticked in photographs, and I wrote underneath a photograph, like at the age of 12 or something, maybe 13, that this is my best photograph I've ever made, and it was about the sunset. It was very funny. I didn't remember, but then I decided other things. I was playing the guitar, whatever, and so many things I was in. But then at the age of 16, 17, that's when I decided that I will become a photographer. And then, yeah, and I was going. And no, I never regret it. So I think it's the best job to make. So it's the best form of art. Even not only a job, because it has many possibilities how to use photography. As a fine artist, you can use a photograph as well. So I can appreciate that one as well, when somebody is a fine artist, and because the medium is so beautiful and so easy to work with this, and it's so surprising. But I stuck, and I tried this one as well, but I stuck in this kind of realistic photography, because I think the photography is the only medium what you can capture reality as precise as possible, and you can imitate reality, and the people can be empathic with the photograph the most. If you make a very good hyper-realistic painting about something, you won't feel the presence that you were there, because you know that you can, okay, it's more philosophical thing, but anyway, so it's a little bit different for me, that when you see a painting, you never get as close as to reality than through a photograph. Yeah. Nadia, and then you.
I'm wondering about your relationships with your model. They are very delicate at all. When they allow you to go very deep in their intimate world, they open their world to you, but you are tete-a-tete. You are only you and they. But how they feel when you show this intimate world to the audience, because it's very delicate. How do you communicate it with your models?
they know it from the beginning that I will.
They know it.
They know it from the beginning. They know that I tell that this will be. It's not for them. It's they are working for me, and it's so and yes. Once it happened that there is a photograph. Maybe we were talking about this. There is one photograph that one of my model doesn't like, but I loved it more, and I still haven't convinced her that this is better than the other. But always they have to agree what I read. And this photograph is not in this exhibition now, but when I will put it in a book, then this will be a second chapter with her. But they know it from the beginning that it will be published.
Did they accept your portraits like something real, or they look to these portraits something unreal? Because somehow all these portraits, they are surrealistic because of the light, because of the poses, because of this how to say, because these stage roles of
Yes.
the people.
Yes, but they accept it. They don't mind it.
Mhm.
So no, so they like it.
Mhm.
They like this. I gave everybody a photograph about themselves.
Mhm.
They love it to use, and somebody's room there is hanging my photograph about them, and so on in a smaller size. But generally they like it. And for example, this girl who didn't want to let me take photographs with this youngster, she was the first one who wanted to get a copy from my prints, and she came for it, and I gave it to her, and she's very happy with this. And but I told her until this vernissage. So
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm wondering if do you have this case when maybe
no, it didn't happen.
There's a commission problem.
the commission.
Yeah. Yeah,
thank
yeah,
you.
but I was trying to select a different kind of people, but to tell the truth, this is the only issue what is not a very wide picture about divorce and marriage, that they are mostly intellectual families. There is one family, I guess, who is not an intellectual part, but this is not right here, but I love it a lot that this is not everybody from the same. Everybody graduated the university and so on. So it's very much about this part of the society. It's kind of narrow society, but that's what I'm living in, and that's what I know. And there are maybe other depths in different levels of the average Hungarian intellectual families, what are more or less the same, like everywhere in Europe, different kind of financial background, but in Hungary it's not very strong financial background they have. Okay.
What do you think about everyday GSM photography?
Pardon?
What do you think about the GSM photography, everyday photography, the old people that walking on the street and make photos?
It's nice also. I love every form of photography, like going out the street and taking photographs. Yeah, so I love it also. There is nowadays an issue about this, that is it allowed to make photographs about a person who doesn't give you a permission? A very good friend of mine is the best street photographer in Hungary, called Miklós Gulyás. It's a very genius street photographer, but he keeps going on his habit. He doesn't care about this, that he doesn't have the permission from the person, because he claims that if we take it serious, then 90% of the photo history would be just a junk, you know. So he just keeps on going to this project. Sometimes he has scandals about this, and but he makes very good photographs. Of course, my problem with these photographs, it's not really about this person who he takes photographs about, or if somebody makes just street photographs. It's more like projection of your life. So it's a little bit tricky because you don't know them. So in a snapshot, in a secret photographic moment, you cannot see the whole picture about somebody. okay, is just a very small fragment in time, in point of view, and whatever. So it cannot be really a person. It's more like, and that's what can be deceiving, that it's if you say that he's making photographs about Budapest and the people of Budapest, it's not really Budapest, it's his Budapest. It's very important. This is his interpretation, but it's very correct. It is indeed his interpretation. That's how he lives the city. That's how he sees the city. But it's not the whole picture. The difference between the stage photographs that I'm trying to make a whole true picture as possible, mixed with my opinion, their feelings together. It's not just what I'm thinking. That's why I need the feedback from them, just to be as honest as possible. Okay, that's the difference between the two. So all approach are very good, could be very good, but sometimes that's the ambivalency in the street photography. Okay.
What else are you working on, or any about next projects, maybe?
Next project, I don't know. Yesterday, I don't know. So I want to finish this one. So maybe it needs half a more year or 1 year just to really. I haven't printed all the photographs just for this exhibition. So when I go back, I will continue in the lab the enlargements and making all the copies just to have in stock. And when I will have an exhibition, just the mounting has to be paid, which is the most expensive, just believe me, but not the making the copy. So I will make the print, so I will finish. I don't know if I just continue human attachment. Maybe. Yesterday in the TV interview they asked the same question, and I said, yesterday I was thinking about maybe friendship, but maybe not. So I'm just thinking about this for like 1 year to, is it interesting enough that not friendship, sorry, brotherhood, that's better, not the friendship, brotherhood. What is a lifelong connection also between two humans, and you're growing up together. But I don't know why is that so important. It has to get kind of relevancy and importance and impact like I believe in marriage has, you know, and responsibility. I don't see in the brotherhood that this is as responsibly behavior like in the behavior in a marriage. So I will read something about it. That's what my wife suggested, because when I start to work at a project, then I read some psychological book about this and what is this about and so on, or other books. And if it turns out that this is very interesting, then maybe I work with this. But maybe I don't know. Nicola was first, and then you come because okay.
I was wondering, for me, some of the pictures have some kind of cinema feeling. Maybe you were partly inspired from cinema generally or not. And you also said that you spend some time, half a day, just for one picture.
How?
I'm also wondering about the way you staged photographs, how long it takes you, and how does the process work. And it's interesting also you're also saying they're staged, of course they look staged and so on, but if we compare, for example, with Gregory Knudsen, who is sometimes even building up the settings about their pictures, so probably they're much less staged and they're almost documentary, you know, depending on the point of view.
It's good that you mentioned Gregory Knudsen. I like his work a lot, and but it's completely different. So because my photographs are documentary stage photographs, because Gregory Knudsen using famous actors and so on, so he staged all the thing like in a movie. Okay, this is very much like a movie scene, and I wouldn't do this. So, but maybe his stories are so so secret and so on, that the models don't want to be visible in the scene, in the image. Okay, so that's the difference between, for example, him and me. That he's completely staging the whole scene, but mine are very documentary photographs. It's a kind of documentary staged photograph. But I don't want to pretend that these are, you know, documents or it's just captured like this. That's why I use this kind of artificial light, just to see the viewer that this is really staged, and this is, everybody knows what's happening without saying it. It's very obvious that this is something what's staged for this photograph, and everybody knows what will happen. Even that my characters, my heroes are those ones who has a story, and that's the difference. I'm not impressed by movies at all. My roots, I think, are coming mainly for the advertising photographs, or something what I made before. As you could see that all my photographs were illuminated, and I feel comfortable with the lights. I love when I'm creating a light, because I believe in that light illumination gives a special meaning to it. In Hungarian, we say that if you put something in a different illumination, then it will becomes a different meaning. I don't know if it exists in Bulgarian. Más megvilágításba helyezni dolgokat, ugye az azt jelenti, hogy más képértelmezni.
Sigurno ima.
Okay, so we say that in different illumination something, then it means a completely different meaning. So that's why I use this illumination, not because of cinema or whatever, because then I can spot this jacket. Okay, it's I don't want to use just the regular light what is over there, and I want to make it blue just to make it as sad as possible and melancholic as possible. Okay, for me. Okay, because that's maybe in your interpretation will be another emotion evokes by this photograph. Okay, but more or less we have same memories with lights, and I think with lights is the best to evoke memories, because that's very common in the human beings. We have good mood with sunlight and bad mood when it's raining and so on, and etc. But with the objects, it's not that obvious. So with colors and with illuminations, that's what I want to evoke, feelings, and that's why in the movies they use illumination, because they know this too. And in the advertising or all my commissions, that's what I wanted to add to as the churches. You remember this organic architect. I illuminated, just the illumination. I gave another special meaning to the objects. So that's what I this is a challenge for me, and I love to play with this. That's it. Okay. You?
Okay, I have a little bit more technical question. When you do the prints yourself, what's your attitude towards editions? Do you know previously how much of each copy you make, or you make copies as you go along? Like edition of each print, do you know previously what edition you do from each series, or
how many?
How many? Yeah.
Somebody told me, Karol Kincses, who is a theorist, a great Hungarian photo theorist, that I should write it down, but I never write it down. Okay, the large format I remember, because it's very difficult to store. You know, it's I know that I have one more. No, I don't have any other copies from this. So, but in small size I have more, and I have many, because you know, if you ever made a color print with an enlarger, then it's a very long process just to balance the color, and you just modify a little bit, then it will change. So I have many variations of each of my photographs with the writing in the back of it, that what were what were the color number, okay, that how many yellow and how many magenta I put it in, and how many seconds I made the exposure, and what was the aperture, and what is the height, okay? So that's, but no, the height I don't write because it's visible on the copy. So so I'm just precise to write the codes of the numbers of the colors, and that's what I store. So, and I keep from each photograph like 2-3 small size copies, and when I make the big one, it's very easy because I just put the big copy in it, and then I use the same numbers, and that's it. But I don't know how many, so I'm not that kind of precise guy who is writing that how many there and so on, and but I should, yeah.
But still you have this size that you think is like the original size that you should show and so on, the size that we have in the galleries.
Yes, yes. This size, all I have is here, mounted. These are the only copies.
Can you repeat them?
Yes. Until they produce the photographic paper.
Mm-hmm.
So if, for example, somebody wants to get like thousands of this photograph, that's why I love photography, I can print it. So no problem, in the same quality, without loss of quality. That's a marvelous thing in photography. Nowadays in the market it works in a different way, that the photographer has to limit that how many copies will he make, because then it gives a value. I think this is a, okay, I don't like this, or Moholi Nagy would be unhappy in his grave if he listened, and I'm coming from the Moholi Nagy University, so it's very much against the philosophy of photography that because of the market, it's a very good market idea, I agree with this, that the photographers limit just to 10 copies, but why not making copies like hundreds? So it's possible.
What about the flash and light that you use in your photography? These
Yes.
portraits in the night, in the garden, and this flash.
Yes,
What does this flash mean to you?
The flash, as I mentioned, I evoke emotions and atmosphere and what is regarding to the models, and I use many flashes and ambient light together. So here just flashes, but as you can see on this photograph, you can see ambient light because it's in a sunny day. This is the sunshine behind on the window, and there are flashes in the room and spotlight on the face. So it's many flashes. I use generally 4 or 5 flashes, 3 minimum.
Yes, but you like make, I don't know, you don't use the atmosphere of the photography on the faces. Is there some meaning of this?
Yes.
And what is it?
How do you mean the meaning of the?
I think I mean that your object, the humans.
Yes.
You make some. I cannot explain. You cut them out from the atmosphere of the landscape.
Yes.
And what is this?
Just what
Why
you
you
said.
make this
I want to focus on them. I want to
Yes.
focus on them. I want to highlight with the different color as well. I use yellow on his face and blue just surrounded, and that's what it's high and gives a because. And I use complementary colors most of the times about the models, and this is somehow reflects on the ambivalency of the whole story about the divorce and the marriage, because it's not a clear, not a straight thing that this is good, this is bad, and that is between, and the melting of the lights, you know, how yellow is combining with the yes, many times. Okay, that's why I use different colors. Mainly in the this one about the childhood. This is how it's that's how it reflects on. It's not highlighting. It's just mixing, just giving a full picture from the RGB colors. Okay, so that's a game. Like here, yes. Can you see it's? It's completely different, the light on her, like in the background. I want to appear them heroes. Like, yeah, heroes. I think all they are. In a kind of way. And the key of the future is within their hands. So that's why they are the heroes. My heroes, the young generation. Okay? Or she. So, do you have other question? Okay, sure. Okay, then I felt happy that so many of you come to listen to my artist talk. And yes, I just advise you to watch my website. There you can see more photographs of me and the full projects. The apples of their eyes are not uploaded. And yes, that's it. I don't have Instagram, sorry. I don't know, but website I have. Not that user-friendly, my website. My students always demanding to make a user-friendly website, but I was too lazy to make it. But even if you click on the photographs, they are open bigger size, okay? And within a few weeks, I will upload the apples of their eyes series as well, okay? Thank you for coming.
Thank you.